morning, Eastern Oregon. Welcome to this Thursday edition, September the 23rd of EOAlive, AM on EOAlive, your connection to Eastern Oregon.
Another month almost gone.
I know it.
Oh, man.
Hey, we're having an issue with our Facebook. And so we've got two streams going. And
all right, I can monitor one. Which one do you want me to watch?
I don't know. So the one with the more viewers is not this one. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll watch the other one.
Yeah. So anyhow, yeah. So if you guys want to comment and you want us to pull your comments into the show, then I put a comment in the comments about the one that you should be watching. But glad you're here. Doesn't matter where you're watching from. We're thankful that you are here. And yeah.
BC, do you know how you make holy water?
How's that?
You boil the hell out of it. That was one I knew you'd get.
Yeah.
You didn't even have to think too long about that one, which is not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I tell you about the time I bought the shoes from a drug dealer?
No.
I don't know what he laced them with, but I was tripping all day.
Gosh, have you been saving these up?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Stupid dad jokes.
Big LHS football game tonight, 6 o'clock, stream right here. Sponsored by Service Master, Side A Brewing, and CHD School-Based Health Center. 6 o'clock p.m. I'll probably go live a little bit early. There'll be commentary, not play-by-play, and then I'm going to try to have a guest with me at halftime. So tune in if you guys are interested. We're playing Estacada, 6 o'clock. LeGrand's number 6 in the state right now, and they've outscored their opponents this year over 100. It was like 106 to like 12 so far.
So they're not really playing their league people.
Not yet. No. We're still in preseason. We're still playing non-con games. Conference games start next week.
But there's only 2 of them. I mean, there's just not that many.
No, it's
the
GOL.
Thing, right?
We talk about it all the time. The GOL it's a crazy. It is what it is. They're trying to revamp that league, but the problem is like back in the old days when there was 4 levels in Oregon, LeGrand was a 4A team, the top level in Oregon, and we had to travel. 4 of our league games every year were in Central Oregon, and that's a long drive. And I mean, that's a lot of traveling. And the way they cut that down is when LeGrand dropped down to 4A, when they bumped everything up to 6A, they revamped the GOL and put Baker and Milton Freewater. So I think we might have 3 league games this year, actually, if I remember right. Mac High, Baker, Ontario. That sound right?
Yep. I don't remember, but 2 of them we're streaming 4 home games.
All 4 of the home games. Yep.
Yeah.
Including tonight's game against Estacada. It's a 6 o'clock start on a Thursday, which all the Oregon high school teams are playing on Thursday this week, which means there's probably an in-service day tomorrow, I would imagine. There's no school tomorrow. I mean, that's usually how it works.
Huh.
Yep.
Strange.
So it'll be Thursday night lights.
Thursday night lights.
Yeah, Thursday night lights. Good LeGrand team. They looked really good last week. Real good against Vail. Top 10 team at the 3A level in Vail, and LeGrand handled them. So, get out there and support them. Community Stadium, 6 o'clock. Otherwise, watch it right here on Eastern Oregon Live TV, your connection to Eastern Oregon.
Yep. All righty. And they play. I mean, they played Milton Freewater, and the score was like 70. What was it? 70-0 or something?
Yeah, that's a drubbing. Yeah.
A drubbing?
Yeah. Yeah. They beat the brakes off of them. That's how the kids say it nowadays.
I thought that like there was a limit. So like maybe it is that if the score is a certain thing, then it's just a running clock. But they
second half, if you're up by 45. The clock, yeah. Well, it's not like LeGrand pulled all their varsity players. It's not like they went. I mean, they could have probably put 120 on them. Really?
Yeah.
The second half was all JV guys, and Milton Freewater's building. It's weird COVID years, like
Yeah.
you can't take anything away from them. At least they went out there and tried.
Yeah. That's awful. All right. Well, hey,
got to be a bad feeling, like as the coach, as the players, like nobody wants to. I hate losing, but I really hate getting my butt handed to me for sure.
Yeah, that's awful. Again, if you're watching, there's 2 different Facebook streams going on. And so if you want to be a part of this conversation, find this stream and throw in on it. So pretty weather today.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a little cold.
Yeah, it was a little chilly. It's got that fall feel to it.
Yeah. We're going to get so kickoff, it'll be 70. It'll be nice. Another really nice night in the valley. I mean, it's going to get all the way up to 74 today. Low of 53, 80% chance of humidity. That means is it going to rain? It doesn't look like rain out there.
Nuh-uh, it doesn't. But it was foggy this morning, I guess.
So I guess maybe that's the humidity. But yeah, sunny and nice most of the day.
All right.
That's nice.
And then tomorrow
we're going to warm up a little bit. We're going to get all the way up to 81 in the afternoon, 77 in the evening. Yeah. It's going to be another great day tomorrow. These are my favorite kind of days. Give me about 75, coasting, nice weather, no rain, no snow. Just nice, good golf weather. It's beautiful. That's what I love about Eastern Oregon.
Good. That's our weather's brought to us by Nate Conklin, State Farm Insurance.
Yeah.
Appreciate them and their support.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, want to bring in our guest today. And we're really glad to have Christy Wheeler with us today. And Christy, you have a varied career, and we'll talk about it. But one of the unique things is that you happen to be at the Pentagon on the day of 9/11 and when the plane hit. And so thank you for joining us. And why don't we start by just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. And you were in the Navy, you're a retired Navy. And I don't know, give us kind of a thumbnail version of your life.
Well, let's see. I started out as a teacher because my father didn't have money for girls to go to college. So I got a scholarship. I taught for 7 years, and I went to work at the Department of Education as a consultant. And one of my peers said I didn't want to be a bureaucrat in Tallahassee all my life, so why didn't I join the Navy? And I was sure I was too old. I was 34 at the time. So I went down and talked to recruiters, and the Army said, "Oh, honey, you are too old." And the Air Force said that they'd take me on a waiver, and the Navy said, "Come on down." So I joined the Navy. I figured a 4-year commitment, how bad could it be? And it was terrific. I went regular Navy as soon as I could and spent 20 years. Early selected 2 different times to promote, and was commander of the Naval Station in Pascagoula, and spent my last 3 years at the Pentagon, where I was the executive assistant to the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Military Personnel Policy.
That's a long title.
That is a very long title.
on your name badge, did they just put like what's
acronym?
That word? Yeah, the acronym.
On my name tag, they put my name.
Okay, on your door. On your door.
I was in an office with two other people, and then the deputy chief of staff was over in an office that was part of ours, and then my boss had his office. It's a 3-star general.
Wow.
So you're here in LeGrand. Kind of talk to us about your LeGrand tie, if you would.
Well, my husband and I are from the Gulf Coast. We live down there most of the time, but his family is here. He was born in Milton, Freewater, and went to high school in Sweet Home. And he his family's from here. His dad was born in Cove, and we live in his grandmother's house, and we have a cabin in the Wallowas that his father and his grandfather built back in the 30s.
Wow.
So,
Oh, wow.
And so then you're here. So when do you head south? Are you here during the summer? And what's kind of your normal routine?
we try to be here during the summer because that's when we can get into the cabin. Then we have been hampered by storms on the Gulf Coast. So we usually go home about the end of August. And this year we have somebody house sitting for us. So we're staying a little bit longer. We'll be here until October. Then we'll head home.
Well, good. So tell us, you tell us a little, you spoke at Rotary the other day, and you talked about kind of some of the interesting people that came into the office, and you told an interesting story. Why don't you start with that, and then we'll roll into 9/11.
Well, I was working for an Admiral Tracy, 3-star, most senior woman in the military, in the whole Department of Defense. And she was really intense, intelligent, and could occasionally be difficult. She had a stream of older men who would come to the office, civilians in suits. And what they were was retired flag officers, generals and admirals. And some of them had a personal relationship with her, and some of them were just looking to do business with the Department of Defense. And we're one of the premier places. So there was a line of old men in suits who would come to the office. We had finished the transition for the Bush administration, and all the staff was on board. When the end of the day, it was probably about 5:30 or 6, this old guy in a suit comes into the office. And I mean, he's your typical old guy in a suit. He has a gray hair. He's got a brown suit on, and it looks tired. And he's carrying 2 briefcases, and I mean, big briefcases. So I figure, old man in a suit, this guy is, but he looked kind of familiar too. So I wasn't really sure. And he comes in and he says, "Is Admiral Tracy available?" And I said, "One moment, now I'll go see." And I went in to talk to her, and I said, "This guy's out here, he's kind of familiar. It might be Admiral Oliver is in charge of our quality of life committee." And she peeked around the corner and said, "No, he does look familiar, but that's not Admiral Oliver." I said, "Well, old guy in a suit." And she goes out, and he puts the briefcases down and sticks out his hand, and it says, "Hi, I'm Donald Rumsfeld, who just happened to be Secretary of Defense." And,
You didn't even know.
and what would have been appropriate was for Mike to call attention on deck when he came in the office and everybody stand up. But, oh well, that didn't happen. They stood there, they talked for a few minutes, and he told her what a great job she was doing with the Quality of Life Committee. And he was really pleased with the progress on that. And he left. And everybody was standing there waiting for the Admiral to, let's see, flame
Chew
spray.
you out?
Flame spray. And she didn't. She turned to me and she said, "Old guy in a suit, huh?" And she turned around and walked into her office. But I was not spared humiliation, because the next day I received no less, I don't know, 10 or more photographs, color photographs of Donald Rumsfeld signed, "Keep up the good work, Donald Rumsfeld. Maybe you'll know me the next time you see me," and words to that effect. And my coworkers had a good time with me.
Oh, I can imagine so. So, so talk to us about the 9/11 and that day, and maybe start with a little bit of description of the Pentagon. The Pentagon is made up of multiple rings.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
There's actually spaces between them. So, for example, E ring is the outer ring, and that is the elite spaces. And my boss's boss, the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel Policy, has an office with windows on the outside, and my boss across the passageway had a window also, but it faced another wing, the next circle. So five sides, and the ones you see most frequently are the mall entrance and the river entrance, and they're just beautiful, and they're it's very big. The entrance that most people use for on a regular basis is the east entrance, which is the parking lot. So it's something like three football fields on a side. That's how big it is, and yeah, it's big. It's huge. It was built. Actually, it was started building on September 11th, back in the 1945, I think, something, no, 43. So a lot of work went into the construction of the place, and it was being renovated. And actually, the part that was being renovated was where the plane hit, and it was not. They had finished the construction, and they were repopulating the area, so it did not have the number of people in it that the rest of the Pentagon did. And there were over 20,000 people in the Pentagon at that time, so we were lucky that it hit where it did for two reasons. One, the lower population, and two was that the area was reinforced. So that when the plane hit, it came at ground level almost, and into the building, and for first through the first three rings, and there's A, B, C, D, E, and in a central courtyard. So it went through E, D, and C, but did not get to the central courtyard at all. And it hit and it collapsed the first two stories. Then about 30-40 minutes after it hit, the third story, three, 4, and 5, they went down. As a result of that, everybody got off those floors before they collapsed.
So go back and talk about your day a little bit. Talk about how, kind of give us how that day was going and what you were experiencing that day.
It was a normal work day. I had been down on the second deck to talk to some of our people down there, and had come back up when I noticed that there was a crowd of people around the television in the undersecretary's office, which was unusual. So I stopped to see what was going on. The EA said that, and they were showing replays of it, there was a plane had actually flown into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. Wow, that was just so, how could something like that happen? And so I went back across the hall to my boss's office, and I said, "Can I turn on your TV set, sir? There's something going on in New York." And he said, "What?" And I explained to him what was going on, and I turned the TV on. And it had been on for just a couple of minutes when they showed the live stream of the second plane flying into the second tower. Well, he and I looked at each other, and there was no chance that that was a coincidence. So we knew that there was an attack on the United States at that time. He went off to a meeting, came back, and about, well, I know the time was 9:37. We felt the impact at the Pentagon, and it just sounded like a huge boom. And you felt it, kind of like a sonic wave, sonic boom. And we didn't know what had happened. That's all. He did a reconnoiter, and he found some broken panes of glass, but that was it. As I said, this is a huge building. So we were standing there talking about it, and my secretary was very, very upset. So I said, if you're upset, go on, go home. It's okay. Just go home. And she left. And about 5 minutes after that, they started passing the word person to person to evacuate the building. And there was no microphone system throughout the building, so they had to do that. I went back inside to call my daughter and tell her not to come into town. She's a student at George Washington University, and she would drive my car in. She'd drive me to work in the morning and go back home and study, and then drive my car in and catch the metro at the Pentagon to Froggy Bottom for George Washington University. And I said, don't come. Turn on the TV set. I know you haven't been watching it, but turn on the TV set and watch what's going on. And I'm telling you, we're okay. We're evacuating the Pentagon. And she goes, holy crap, Mom. So she did that, and I hung up the phone, and it rang immediately. My boss is standing in front of me. Pull chocks, let's go. And I pick it up. It's training. The phone rings, you pick it up. And it was my husband calling from Mississippi. And he said, we've heard that there's a bomb in the Pentagon. And I said, we don't know what it is. It was loud, vibration, but we're evacuating the building. Stay in touch through it with Dell during the day. That's all I can tell you. And I got my purse and I left. It was very calm. Everybody was, okay, what's this all about? We don't know. Where we were, there was if you weren't watching a television, you had no idea what had happened already in New York. So they just wandered outside. And the way we went out was through the mall entrance, which was one side, the next side from the side that got hit by the plane. And when you went out the door, you could see that there was debris on the ground. I'm talking little pieces, just tiny pieces of debris. And as you walked out further, you could see the smoke over the vertice. And then as you got out beyond the corner, you could actually see the flames and the devastation. So we walked on out there, and we're trying to help people. There were some people covered in dust and covered in plaster. And they called for volunteers for the military for first aid. And I got separated from my boss then because I was trying to help somebody that was there needing help. And he went on to get in the group that was going to do first aid. And they would let me come in when I was, so anyway. They pushed us far away from the building. So if the mall entrance, it's Highway 27, and on the other side of that is Arlington Cemetery. And so we got pushed across the street, and we would go to Arlington and catch the metro and go up to the Navy Annex. I was with another woman, a captain who worked for my old boss, and we thought we'd go up there and get in. Well, they shut the metro down, so we couldn't do that. So we kept walking, and here we are. We're out on the street with, thousands of people there, and they're all just walking away. We go. The next thing is Fort Myer, and we tried to go in there, and they wouldn't let you in unless you were billeted there or working there. So we kept walking, and we got up to Roslyn, and finally. And traffic is gridlocked on the roads beside us, and to get up to Roslyn, and by this time, I have no idea what time it was, probably noon or after. We found a restaurant and was able to use a landline because the cell phones were clobbered. You couldn't get a call out. So we called our families, and then we got a cab, got something to eat, got a cab and took the cab around to the Navy Annex. And it's like a 5-minute drive from where we were. And it took its 20 minutes because the roads were just chock-a-block. I went into the Navy Annex, which is up the hill from the Pentagon. And strangely enough, my former office in that area, I worked in the Pentagon several years before that. And it was beautiful. I had this great view of the Pentagon. It was down the hill and to the Pentagon. That's the side that I always saw was that. So I went up there and I checked it out, and oh God, it was horrible. There was still flames. There was hundreds of first responders on the scene. And as it turned out, the undersecretary was there. So I set up with him. I made a lot of phone calls and was able to determine that all my personnel were accounted for, and was able to report that to my boss and to the undersecretary. And sometime around 6 o'clock, I guess, he gave me a ride to the metro station. And I walked home from the metro in my bare feet because I'd been in high heels all day long. And told my boss I was never wearing a skirt to work again.
You're right. So let's put into perspective just how big the Pentagon is for the viewers. We're talking 4 million square feet. We're talking like 1,100 acres of land. The Pentagon is humongous. So where the plane hit, were you in the close left or right wing or the far left or right wing? Looking at it from the front, from where it hit.
Okay. We were about as far away as you could get. Not quite, but we were pretty close to being as far away. We were up 3 decks, and we were not on we're on the E-ring outside. So there was, all we got was a little vibration. That was it.
But you were still one little tug on the old airplane controls away from an airplane hitting you.
More important than that, if the guys had known where the heck they were going, they'd have hit our side, because that's where all the VIPs were.
Yeah. Oh, that's good thing. Do they move people in the Pentagon just so you don't know that, or do they always stay in the same place? You know how the president, he'll ride Air Force One, or like do they shuffle them around in there like ants?
Oh no, because they have their huge prestigious offices. You don't want to give up.
Right. I get it. Yeah.
So there, I think there were 120 fatalities, if I remember right, around that.
There are 125 from the Department of Defense. There were 70 civilians, and of those, 10 were contractors, and then the rest were military personnel. There were more civilians injured than there were casualties, than there were military.
Yeah, 100. It says 184 people total.
That was the crew. That was the aircraft itself.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
So had that area been fully populated, do you have a guess of, does anybody that could have been much worse is the point, right?
Could have been thousands.
Wow. Yeah.
But they were renovating that particular part so that there wasn't near as many people in there as
exactly. They had finished the renovation, and they were beginning to repopulate the area, but people were just moving in. The most senior person that was killed was General Maud. He and my boss were very close. He was devastated by it. And he was the most senior military person to die in the attack.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what are some of the things that you can talk about that the Pentagon realized that, so we don't have an internal system, a microphone system to communicate to the entire building all at one time. I mean, are there other things that's like, wow, other improvements that came about again that you can talk about? Yeah.
Yeah. For example, we didn't know who was in the building. We didn't
Oh,
know the number of people in the building. Military people could come in there. All they had to do was show an ID card. They had contractors in and out all day long, but they were not doing the kind of accounting that they do now. Now you don't get in the building without swiping a badge, and they track every single person who comes into the building. So that's a very good plus that came out of this, is that kind of improved security. Um, the other thing is sorry, lost my train of thought.
The security, that's happened everywhere, though. Even schools after 9/11, accountability on people who's in the building. It was an obvious issue in all aspects of commerce and business, that there was no accountability. Now even schools, they know exactly who's in that building all the time.
Yeah, and I think the schools is more a reflection of the gun violence that we've had. So that's another story.
Well, yeah, just violence and period.
Yeah.
I mean, just people at risk.
but yeah, there was no census. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christy.
There was of course, the upgrade to the building security and the notification system of an emergency. Definitely that has been taken care of. We used to ignore we used to ignore fire alarms all the time, just ignore them because they were so often just nothing. So we just went right on with our meetings and never paid any attention.
Wow.
How did they secure? I mean, from a practical standpoint, how would you defend such a large complex? I mean, even now, if somebody, I mean, the clear answer, you got to have a set of perimeter way out there for any strange aircraft but I mean, it seems like the Pentagon would be an easy target to fly something into. I mean, it is just so massive. How would they defend something like that?
Well, you can't defend. You can minimize the damage. I can try to structure things so that you have time. You can evacuate. You can get people away from the building. But if somebody, if terrorists really want to hit anything, they can. They'll find a way. We did a whole bunch of anti-terrorist security measures at the naval station when I was the commander there, because of the attacks on our embassies in the past. And we had, the buildings are built with the parking lots right there for convenience, so that people park close to where they work. And then trying to move the parking places all away from the buildings. If terrorists want to find a way, they will.
Yeah. Have you been back since you retired? Have you been back to the Pentagon? Yeah.
No, I have not.
Is that a trip that's going to happen anytime? Like, do you still have like feelings inside, or are you pretty much good with that?
I don't have any feelings inside.
That's not good.
The Pentagon was a good place to go home from.
Yeah.
The Pentagon, you have to understand, the Pentagon is long hours and a hard work day. We would typically work 10 to 12 hours a day. It's not unusual.
Wow. And
what do you do now? Yeah. Sorry, BC. What do you do now?
What I do, I'm retired.
Yeah, like what do you do though for fun?
Oh, well, I spend a lot of time volunteering. I work with the League of Women Voters for Mississippi. I'm a co-president, and I volunteer with my church, and I quilt. So I make quilt.
Good.
Now, and your husband had a Navy career also. I mean, he might be somebody that we want to talk to sometime. Talk a little bit about his career.
He's really a hot shot. I'm serious. He had 3 commands, which is incredibly unusual in the Navy. He was command of a frigate, and then he had a major command of 4 commands. He had a command of the cruiser, the last Aegis cruiser that the shipyard built in Mississippi, which is where I met him. And then he had 2 shore commands. That's just incredibly unusual. This is a funny thing. When I was commander of the naval station, I used to have my guys come to me and say, it's time for a wardroom party, which is the officers that made up the naval station. And we have some new people reporting on board. We have some people leaving. I said, okay, fine. And so I'd look at my schedule and I'd say, well, this Saturday is clear. The next Saturday is clear. And they said, oh, okay. How about your husband's schedule? I said, wait a minute. This is my command, my schedule. But man, he has the best stories.
So they wanted him at the parties.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, and
so
when
he was
say,
a lifer too, like you, like a full on lifer.
30 years. 30 years.
30 years.
He and mostly tours at sea. He is you really have to have him come in and tell you about it, because he had some incredible tours. And his last tour at sea, the USS Reuben James was the earlier one, USS Port Royal, the cruiser, the last cruiser that the naval station, that the Navy Yard in Pascagoula built. And it just won all kinds of awards because he is just a phenomenal leader. He's such a good leader that his people stay in touch with him all the time. I mean, it's been 20 years since he's retired, and they're just all the time. They'll be in touch with him. What's going on? There's lots of friends. His old XOs will call him up and say, how are you doing, Captain? And it's amazing. He's really amazing.
Well, you make it quite obvious what you think of him, because as soon as Brent mentioned his name, you started glowing and you had this beautiful smile, and you made it real obvious that you think the world of that guy.
He's pretty special.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty awesome.
Well, before we quit, talk to us about what you think makes a good leader. That's a kind of an interesting and I guess, is there a difference between a leader in military and civilian life?
Well, I know that my husband's leadership style and my leadership style are different, and I can't tell you which one's better, but I can tell you his is stronger in terms of making relationships. He has. I think we're both similar in that we have a mission, we have a plan, we tell people what their expectations are, and we hold them accountable for those expectations. So we allow for mistakes. We don't allow for second mistakes. If you make a mistake once, okay. You make the same mistake a second time, well, then that's just you. And you're not probably, you're probably not going to be successful in the Navy. So I can't, to me, leadership is, first you have to be a leader. You have to have a strong, a passion for what you're doing. And I think that you have to be more than just a screamer. That you need to have some feeling for the people and the work. And you have to value the work and the people equally, because the people are the ones who get the work done. So it's very important to me that you understand that difference. You asked about the difference between civilian and military leadership, and I have been dinged any number of times, whether when I was the executive director of the United Way, or when I local, and or when I was the city manager for Gaucher, and even in the League of Women Voters, people will go, well, that's because of your military experience. And that's not, it really isn't. Uh, you want something done, you push to get it done.
Right.
Wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead, Christy.
I don't know if you realize I was also the city manager of the city of Gaucher when Katrina hit. And I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that.
No, do yes,
wow.
please,
I did not know that.
And
wow.
where is Gaucher at?
Gaucher is in Jackson County, Mississippi, there's 3 counties along the coast: Hancock, Harrison, and Jackson. Pascagoula is the one furthermost east, and Ocean Springs. Then you get Biloxi in Harrison County and Gulfport. But we were told that the storm was coming. We all knew the storm was coming, and we kept the leadership of the county and the cities generally are very slow in taking action in emergency preparedness. And we kept hearing that the storm was going to hit Louisiana, was going to hit New Orleans. We're still in the right front quadrant, which gets all the storm surge. And this is a huge storm. It basically took up the entire Gulf of Mexico. So people were undervaluing the amount of push behind the storm's force. Sunday before the storm, I went to emergency management meeting, and once again, the supervisors were unwilling to make a declaration of emergency, because if you don't have a declaration of emergency, you can't evacuate people. You can't do anything. So because Biloxi hadn't, which was further to the west of us. So they said that, if Biloxi hasn't, well, we don't need to. And I went to church afterwards and told my friends and members of my church, which was down the beach in Pascagoula, I said, get out of town. If you have a chance, get out of town. It's going to be worse than they think. And to this day, people will come up to me and say, I wish I'd listened to you. But that night, I stayed in town in Pascagoula at the Emergency Management Center. And we had to evacuate that building during the night because of the rising winds were tearing things off the ceiling. So off the roof. So we went over to the courthouse across the street. And I could just, in the morning when it was daylight, you could just watch the water run up the street. And Pascagoula is fairly flat. So it was, it was an easy push from the beach to where we were, which was probably 5 or 6 miles. Wow. And you could just watch the water come up the stairs. Eventually, we went back to the emergency management center to monitor what was going on. We lost comms with the city at some point. Even though my car got moved 3 times, it was still flooded.
Oh, wow.
And that night, I didn't know whether my husband was alive or not. He had opted to stay because he's Lieutenant Dan from Bubba Gump. So he stayed in our house. We're surrounded on 3 sides by water. So I didn't know if he was still around or not. I managed to get a call into one of my people the head of the streets division. I said, could you drive by my house? Could you see if there's any signs of life? And he couldn't get all the way to where he was. And he says, no, there were lights. And I said, well, okay, that they weren't flames, were they? Yeah, they were just. So I
Here's
knew
I was just gonna throw up a picture of Pascagoula for everybody to see, kind of what the destruction kind of looked like. Does this look familiar to you, Christy?
Oh yes, I took a helicopter ride over the area. The military brought in a Black Hawk, and we, all the city managers and mayors and everybody got to go up and survey the damage. And it was, on the beaches, there was nothing. There was not even debris on the beaches because it was all blown away. There was one pad of concrete after another. That's basically all there was. It's what you're seeing. It's horrible. And you get further inland, any place around the water, it was like that. And you get further inland, then the wind damage was the worst thing. And of course, we had fights with the insurance company over whether or not it was wind or flood. A lot of people, lost everything because of that conflict. We were very lucky in Gaucher. My military background prepared me for disaster preparedness. That's one of the things we practice all the time. So we had staged all of our equipment and in places where it would be secure. And we didn't get any water in City Hall at all. We lost one vehicle, and that's because my guys drove it into floodwaters, but they were rescuing people from an assisted living center that was in a little valley, not too far from City Hall. And they got a lady out in a wheelchair who had their water up to her shoulders. So
Wow.
I was very proud of them for having destroyed a vehicle.
I don't think that there's too many people that can say that they were in the Pentagon when it got hit on 9/11 and in Hurricane Katrina.
Well,
probably not too many people.
Probably not. We didn't lose any water and we were the only city in on the coast that didn't lose water. So we still had water that we could wash things out. We had gravity sewer that works some, and we had an incredible power company that got and I mean a teamwork of power companies that they came from all over the United States to support us, and they had to power back on completely in 11 days, completely.
Wow.
And we were, Pascagoula lost 1/3 of its fleet of vehicles because they just didn't think it was going to hit 1/3 of their fleet of vehicles. We finished our permanent infrastructure repairs, the water and sewer repairs, by the time most people had gotten their temporaries started. Just
very nice.
Had some really good people working for us.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. So then how was your husband's experience riding out the storm with three with water on three sides?
What he spent his time doing was trying to save stuff, as the water kept rising, kept moving things up higher and higher. Unfortunately, we have this differential in height, you might say. He's really, really tall, and I'm just kind of average. So most of his stuff is usually stored up high where he can reach it. And my stuff is down low. But the things that he could save, he would, I can move some things here. He said if he'd known how well our bed would float, the Tempur-Pedic mattress, he said he would have piled tons of stuff on it. So
wow.
He said, when the water got up to about my waist, I began to think that I had underthunk this and made the wrong decision. at what point he said, I thought about trying to get outside, get out to a boat, and there was the fire ants roll so that they don't drown. But you don't want to hit a mass of fire ants ever,
No.
particularly at the time that was the water was just above his thighs. Yeah,
No, that would not be good.
I'm staying here. I made the wrong decision in not going earlier, but now I'm staying here.
Right.
We had really good shutters on our house, metal shutters that we had invested in several years before, and he thinks that they saved the house, and that was the way it worked. But he said it got a little bit over my waist, and the next thing I know, water was going down. He says, I knew that I had to save the dogs. He'd taken our 3 dogs and put them up in the attic, and not an easy lift for a 100-pound bulldog. But he said he knew that if the storm didn't kill him, that I would if he lost the dogs. So,
Wait, you guys were Navy people and you had a bulldog?
yeah.
I'll bet you the Marines love that. I bet you that was a nice little jab. My grandfather was a Marine for 24 years, and then my grandma's sister and her husband were in the Navy, career Navy people down in Southern California. So I always heard the banter back and forth between the Navy and the Marine Corps. It was always fun.
Well, it's fun to acknowledge the different services and the differences. Yeah. My husband, what does he say? The Army and the Navy are the real fighters, the warriors. The Marine Corps, it's a religion, and the Air Force is a corporation.
They're a branch of the Navy. I mean, it's the Navy emblem is part of the Marine Corps emblem, right?
Yes.
And the medics in the Marine Corps are all corpsmen.
Yeah, all the officers go to the academy, the U.S. Naval Academy, and then they decide whether they want to be Marines or be Navy.
Yeah, very cool.
Wow. Well, Christy, thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, for joining us, and what an interesting career and some interesting experiences.
It's been my pleasure.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll have you back again sometime. So when are you headed south now? Do you know?
Sometime after the 5th of October.
All righty.
Sounds like a plan.
You guys have a good winter and enjoy some seafood for us.
I'll do that.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, BC, ready to rip this out?
Yep.
On this day in 1845, the very first baseball team, the New York Knickerbockers, organize and adopt a rule code. On this day in 1938, a time capsule to be opened in 6939 was buried at the World's Fair in New York City. It contained a woman's hat, a man's pipe, and 1,100 feet of microfilm. On this day in 1952, the first closed-circuit pay TV telecast of a sports event took place. On this day in 1980, Bob Marley's last concert happened at the Stanley Theater in Pittsburgh. On this day in 2019, 2 years ago, was when Greta Thunberg scolded the world leaders with her climate change at the UN, her little speech on climate change at the UN Climate Action Summit in New York. The number one song in 1991 on this day, which is 30 years ago, was I Adore Me Amore by Color Me Bad. That song was hot too, man. That song was hot. It really was. And I changed my quote for the day. I had a quote from Ray Lewis up, the linebacker for the Ravens, but I changed it in honor of Christy. And it's Douglas MacArthur. A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. He does not set out to be a leader, but becomes one by the equality of his actions and the integrity of his intent. Douglas MacArthur.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. Let's get out of here.
All righty. Hey, thank you, Eastern Oregon.
We appreciate you. 6:00 tonight. Live stream. LeGrand football.
Hey, I did an EO Talks yesterday with Agatha Trunchbull. Be sure and check that out. Very fun and interesting. Bye.